work on Emmanuel then? Is that what
Yes, yes, yeah.
yeah.
So, you know, Emmanuel's probably the one that maybe surprised everybody, but, you know, certainly he visited here officially with his family when we played UCLA, our last home game. Every recruiting situation is different. In his case, you know, he was more about getting it right and less about the drama and the process. And I think for him, being from Canada, he started his clock a little bit earlier and started to think more and more as the year went on about potentially reclassifying and, you know, going to school a year earlier. So he was either going to be in the 2018 class as a committed player, but as it became more and more apparent to him and his family that he would be able to graduate and qualify, then we moved him up. But you know, I think anytime that you replace your senior year of high school with coming into a college program like ours, you know, certainly from a development perspective, it's going to be sped up astronomically. And you know, for him, I think that he's going to really gain a lot through our strength and conditioning program, beginning his college education. He has a lot of talent. I think versatility strikes me with him as a player. You know, he's not relegated to just one position. He can play a lot of different positions. You know, he's an adept passer. As a matter of fact, one of the best passers his size that I have seen. That's an exciting quality. And defensively, you know, the sky is the limit. So, you know, I think he's also somebody that's not afraid of competition, you know, that wants to come in here and compete, be a part of something that's special, and really, you really rely on that competitive environment to bring out the best in him. And a lot of times, you know, that's missed in all of this. You know, if you surround yourself by a lot of great teammates in a high achievement type of program where you're expected to win, there's a lot of other players that have the same goals and dreams that you have. You know, you have a tendency to get to the place that you want to get to. You know, some of the conversations I've had with those that have played here for Coach Olson, you know, one of the stories that I love is Luke Walton and Richard Jefferson, where they came on the same official visit. They were brought in here really in either-or situation. By the way, I would love a coach to try that these days. See how that one would work. You know, at the end, one of you two gets it, the other one loses. But, you know, I think on the visit, they decided to kind of look at each other and say, hey, we're both versatile. How about if we walk in and say, will you take both of us? And how did that work for both of them? You know, in a sense that it wasn't about points per game. It was about how they developed, how many games their team won, and the respect that they got as college players allowed them to go on and not just be an NBA player, but have an amazing career, both of them. So when you look at those guys, I think they're a great example of when you put that into the year 2016, you know, Emmanuel Acott embracing a program that has some talent, some upperclassmen that's expected to do a lot. I think it's going to bring out the best in Emmanuel. It was more about him, you know, because, you know, anybody that believes in us and commits to us, I mean, they're part of our basketball family. You know, no one's more important than the ones you already have, whether it's Raleigh that's leaving or somebody like Emmanuel that has pledged and made his decision without any drama in a time where that's not the case very often. So we allowed his family and him to make that decision. We didn't necessarily try to speed him up or slow him down. And you don't know that information until late in the game. You know, that's not something we know in January or February. You know, he has to first be a qualifier and be able to speed up his academics. So he was able to do that, and it wasn't until very, very recently that I think that in his mind he wanted to do it. And as long as he was able to qualify, obviously we're gonna take a commitment from him above and beyond anybody else, because he's someone who's already been a part of what we're doing. It can, but you know, it's not as easy as it appears. You know, it just isn't. Where Emmanuel was able to do it is, keep in mind he's a Canadian, so you know everybody's familiar with 13 years of high school, and so they start earlier and they take more classes. So at this point in his life, he's further ahead than somebody that would have been born and raised in the United States high school system. So there's more and more of those that are doing that. But in high school, I'm sure there's some that can do it, but it's not easy. And you know, you would have to really take a lot of summer classes. And as you guys know, the NCAA is, you know, they're really taking into account the classes, the places that these classes are being taken at, making sure that the work's done correctly. So it has to be done legitimately. It's not an easy thing to do. No, we welcomed him into doing it, so we certainly believe in him. But it's hard to promise anybody prior to them being here what it's going to look like. If you even go back to last year, who could have ever predicted the off the court and the injuries that we went through in November and December? It allowed some of our younger players to get a lot of experience in November and December that maybe they otherwise wouldn't have gotten. And each year represents its own challenges, but to win it all, to have a great season, to reach the goals that we have and are expected to achieve, you need depth, you need quality, you need a great recruiting class, you need players that are willing to sacrifice, you need upperclassmen that are at their best, leadership, everything means a lot. So I think from a talent perspective, we all get 13 scholarships. It's not like at Arizona we get 18 and everyone else gets 12. So with that, we all try to do the best we can to have the best team each year. And today represented the end for us. But if you would have asked me 2 weeks ago how it would have ended, I could have given you 3 or 4 different versions of it. We didn't know. We just tried to work to the end to do the best that we could. I was surprised the chance went, but along the same lines of Raleigh, that's his family's decision. That's Chance's decision. I'm not sitting here every day hoping that things don't go well. I want him to do well, and if there's any way that we can help him as a basketball program, we want to help him. So. Like he had the same 3 options as Raleigh. You can come back to school, you can test the waters. Once you test the waters, you can make your own decision, or you can get an agent and leave right away like Lowry and Kobe decided to. So with each situation it's different, and it reminds me a lot of the recruiting situation. There's no two alike. And I think when people are deciding whether to leave school or not, there's no two that are alike. Our role at Arizona, both myself and our coaching staff, is can we provide them the most accurate information that's out there? And once that's provided, then it really is whatever role that they would like us to have, we'd be more than willing to take that role. But the role is different with each situation, but I hope Chance does well. No, Kobe and his family are very transparent, and I think they wanted to get it started. He, as you guys know, is one of the most athletically talented, gifted kids that we've had. I mean, if you just look at who he is now physically, it's scary to think where he'll be 3 or 4 years from now. He's continuing to make that transition from being a high school point guard and now to be a pro point guard. So, but there's a development process that he's going to go through, whether he was here or whether he's in the NBA game or wherever he's at. So I think that development will continue for him. But there was no surprises. We anticipated him leaving. 3 or 4. And that's yet to be worked out, but I think Emmanuel Aycott can certainly do that. He's very young right now, but his future might be at that position one day. Alonzo Trier can slide over there as a veteran, somebody who continues to work to become adept at passing and scoring. And certainly, the thing about Alonzo, he has a total command of our system, and he's a great free throw shooter. So a lot of times you want the ball into guys like that hands. But Parker right now, as a senior, somebody who's played that position for 4 years, if you look at his assist to turnover ratio, I'm hoping that he can get a year of health from start to finish. But he's working really hard right now, and I've seen it 4 or 5 times in the last 6 seasons where you have that junior becoming a senior, and that you can just see it in them that they're going to have a great off season, and they're going to be a meaningful, better, improved player as a senior than they were a year earlier. Kadeem Allen was that a year ago, and I believe that Parker will follow that. If you look at Parker's three-point shooting in the Pac-12 the last 2 seasons, and you look at his assist-to-turnover ratio, it's nice to have somebody returning as an upperclassman who's already done that. And I think that he has one more level he can be at as a player, and we're talking to him every day about getting to that level, but he's bound and determined to do it. So certainly him, and then Alex Barcelo, who as you know can play really the point or with a point guard, freshman that we really believe in. So depth-wise, it'll work itself out. You can't play 4 guys at that position, but I think the 2 best will be there, and we'll go from there. Well, we're really excited to have Chase. I think the first thing that I want to clear up on him is Chase did not have back surgery at Duke. He's never had back surgery. And I think that there's been probably a misrepresentation that he had season-ending surgery, had surgery on his back, which, as you know, is a big deal. But he did not. He had a back injury that's worked itself out. Right now, he's full go, 100% healthy. And but we look forward to having him as part of our program this year. When you look at, first of all, Chase is young. When he went to Duke, he really could have been a senior in high school. And I have personally great experience with him because I was his assistant coach on the under-18 Team USA team, where I watched him in the tryouts, watched him, coached him on the team, was with him for 3 or 4 weeks there in Colorado. And then we recruited him. Didn't do a good enough job the first time around, but we became very familiar with his character and his talent level. But I'm here to tell you that when you look at where he'll be in his career, his talent, physically, who he'll be, and what he's gone through, I think we're getting an excellent player and somebody that we expect great things from. He expects great things from himself. But even on this year's team, I think some of the leadership he'll be able to provide every day, the depth in practice. It's going to be exciting to watch, our front line practice against each other every day. We talk a lot about the highly competitive environment. You can say it, but you need the players to be able to represent it. I think getting Chase was a big, big coup for us, as big as anything we were able to do this spring. And we're excited, and I think he's excited as well. No, Ryan had an injury, and he required surgery while he was here at Arizona. And no question, his body changed because of our strength and conditioning program, but also through Ryan Anderson's determination. But Chase we don't anticipate him having surgery. So I think his year of development here will be big. That's a great question. We have a lot of candidates. Some are maybe young players, but I'll defer to the oldest. And when you look at Alonzo and you look at Parker, Raleigh, especially Alonzo, he has several levels left in him as a defensive player, talent-wise, the know-how, the ability to really guard a variety of different players. And I think one thing that even someone like Raleigh knows now is I talk a lot about, as the coach, the importance of being able to defend, not just play offense. And not until you leave Arizona do you realize the importance of that. And I think Raleigh, some of the feedback that he got is, the importance of him being able to guard a position in the NBA. So, somebody like Alonzo will really be able to answer that question here in his junior year. I look at him as a candidate to do it. Certainly Parker and Raleigh as well. And like I said, I think the exciting part for us is we don't have that worked out right now. We have a number of candidates, and we'll know more as we get into November. Well, I think we have a blend of a number of characteristics. One is we have a talented group of newcomers. And with that, not just guards, not just bigs, but a variety, a balance. Wings, shooting, guards, front court players. We add, I think, a lot of talent in the freshman class. DeAndre Ayton in particular, because of his physical size. It's striking to look at him right now and think that he's never lifted weights. So I think he adds a dimension that any program would love to have. But the whole group of incomers, Chase included, will give us, I think, a boost. We also return, I think, a lot of proven players, experience, leadership. And I think some players that have a healthy chip on their shoulder, whether it's Parker to prove himself above and beyond what he's already done, Alonzo and Raleigh to prove that they can become NBA players, coveted players, the best that they can be in college. Duson, who is as good of a scorer, a low post scorer as a senior center as maybe I've seen. So it's going to be interesting to watch his experience and his skill level come together. So we have a lot of different qualities, and some of the teams that I've had here, that we've had, that have made a run, that have been a high seed, those teams have had those same types of qualities where you have the combination of experience and talent in the freshman class. It's along those same lines. I mean, we'll see. Number one, injuries. Number two, is everybody who we think they are, and I think sacrifice is a big word here, where everybody has to play for the bigger objective and the bigger goal, and that's a lot easier said than done. I think every team tends to talk about it, but very few can back that up. You know, when you talk about playing for Arizona, the name on the front of your jersey, there's a lot that goes into that. And it's okay that each of our players has their own individual goals and aspirations, but as long as that vehicle that they use to get there is through Arizona, then we're all fine. But we're so far away from being able to do that. But it'll be an exciting summer. As you well know, August represents something that's unique as well, in that we're allowed to take a foreign trip, going to Spain. We're going to have an opportunity to practice near the end of July and early August. And I think it's going to be great for our coaching staff. It's going to be great for our newcomers, but it's also going to be an exciting time for our returning players, where they can show the young guys how we do it, and then I think grow closer as a team through an experience that you're not able to get very often. I think we'll know for sure over the next 3 days, but It sounds like just about everybody returns. USC, looking at their talent that they had this year, they did a great job. In the NCAA tournament, and to think of who they welcome back, plus I think a couple of newcomers transfer that they'll also add to their team. They're going to have a terrific team, great roster, and but I think that our conference is as healthy as it's ever been, and it'll be an exciting time. 6th year back, the NCAA allowed him to have it, so I'm happy for him, and he ended up finishing. A lot's been made of the grad transfer, where those guys tend to take a few classes and not finish. Talbot's going to be able to finish that, so that's great for him, and it's also great for us to have him as, again, somebody who's in his 6th year of college, who's from Tucson, filling that leadership role that's so vital each year.
Because I was wondering, was there a thought that maybe you, even if he got cleared, maybe just not play because with the injury he suffered and being an older guy, or was he always wanting to play if he could?
No, I think he wanted to play. He came back to Tucson, to the U of A, to have that opportunity, and it was taken from him. So we're hopefully have a great stretch of health here and have a clean final year of basketball.
Kobe might go, and if Kadeem has a shot or might get a free agent deal, or kind of what are you hearing when you're thinking about those guys?
Lowry's probably the one that I could speak on, and that I think he's a no-brainer lottery pick. Where that falls, I don't know. I think there's some of that is yet to be determined by the process that each of the teams will go through. But he's someone else that we're really proud of. His 9 months went by way too fast, but he's just a great kid, and he did a fantastic job academically, and we're really proud of him. It'll be a great day to see him become a part of the NBA. So I think first and foremost is just trying to move to Tucson. I think he has a family, and it's not just as easy for a coach to just pick up and move from one place to the next. So it's been a part of it, and in that transition. But it's nice to have him around, and I think that the qualities that Lorenzo brings to our staff and brings to our program speak for themselves. It's a wealth of experience, just an impeccable character, and someone who's just really been there and done that at every level. As a player, somebody that's spent a lot of time in LA growing up, been a part of the Pac-12. I was kidding with him the other day. He might have the Boston Celtics backcourt. You look at him, and he could potentially be their coach. Depending on how the draft works out, which is, I guess, from that perspective, quite a testament to him. We're working through all that just to get everybody certified and cleared from high school, but we don't anticipate any problems. We have, I guess, a couple of guys taking a pre-session class. The 2 that are here right now are Parker and Alonzo. And then we have a number of guys that are home that will return in June. And then all of our newcomers at some point will be here in June, either for summer session 1, which begins I think in June 6th, or the bridge class, which is in the middle of June.
Well, you can have them come. They can just go to summer too, can't they, to be eligible for staying, or
they can.
Worst case scenario.